Welcome inside the beautiful Fox Theater here in Atlanta, Georgia, site of the UFC 201 weigh-ins. In around a few hours' time, UFC 201 will finally take place just a few blocks from here at the Phillips Arena, the third time that the Octagon has come to Atlanta, Georgia. I'm Ariel Helwani. This is the MMAfighting.com preview show, and we're being joined by a newbie here on the preview show. He is our own Jed Meshew, the author of the Daily Morning Report. Now, Jed, you live in Atlanta, Georgia. Tell us about the buzz. Has there been a lot of buzz for this card leading up to it?
There actually has been a pretty fair amount of buzz around. Billboards went up, 2 or 3 months ago. I have a lot of friends who aren't into the fighting world, and they've all bought tickets and are coming tomorrow. So it's not an enormous card. I think there's still a healthy amount of tickets available last time I checked, but more pop than I thought it was going to have.
Okay. Now, you are sort of the gambling expert.
Yeah.
That's your thing. You've been penning a great article for MMA Fighting the last few events. And so right off the top, I'm just curious, is there a fight or two that really sticks out from a gambling perspective that you have your eye on?
There are 2 fights on the main card that I actually really like as far as a betting perspective. And you can get the full write-up on it. I think it'll come out tomorrow sometime around noon. But the co-main event, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, I really like her chances against Rose Namajunas. I think she's a plus 190 right now, underdog. That fight's at worst a coin flip. I think everybody expects Rose to end up being a champion one day. She's hyper athletic, got a ton of promise, does a lot of good things well. But at the end of the day, she's not really going to be able to take Karolina down. Karolina is a fantastic sprawling brawler. I think Karolina is a little more technical on the feet, and her volume is just tremendous. She throws something like 25 strikes a minute. For reference, the champion, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, throws like 15 or 16, I think. She just buries you in volume. If this was 5 rounds, I would feel very confident in Kowalkiewicz. Because it's 3, maybe that's not enough time for her to work, but I like that. And I also really like Cisco Rivera. Not as big of an odds differential there, and not as big of a name value. Most people aren't hyped about the Cisco Rivera-Eric Perez fight, but I do think he should probably be the favorite there. He's got a little more. He's got a lot more power in his hands, and again, it's going to mostly be contested on the feet. And I like his chances to land that kill shot.
And he's fighting Eric Perez. You said he's currently the underdog in that fight?
I believe he's plus 140 last I checked. I think he should be around a minus 120 favorite, much closer to even than it is. So I think there's value there, but Karolina is very undervalued right now, and I'm picking her to win tomorrow. So there's that. I would have been in on Tyron Woodley. I think he's got a real good chance against Robbie Lawler. There's a lot coalescing at this moment for that. Not super excited about betting on somebody coming off an 18-month layoff, and he's dropped tremendously. He opened at plus 200, and he's down to plus 130. A lot of money's come in on Woodley. A lot of people are liking what they see from him.
Yeah, and you kind of stole my next question. Great segue there. Of course, the main event is Tyron Woodley versus Robbie Lawler for the UFC welterweight title. Last time Tyron Woodley fought, January of 2015, his win over Kelvin Gastelum. Now, he was supposed to fight at UFC 192 in October. Johnny Hendricks did not make weight. Woodley sat on the sidelines and got what he wanted. He got a title shot. Robbie Lawler, of course, coming off that amazing win. Some people thought it was a loss, but in the record books, it's a win over Carlos Condit at UFC 195 in January. So, as you said, a lot of money now coming in the favor of Tyron Woodley. Why do you think this is? Why all of a sudden?
There's been a lot of talk just in general that this might be nearing the end, not for Robbie Lawler's professional career, but he's been doing this a really long time. He's been in a lot of wars, and he's been in a lot of wars lately. His last 4 fights have all gone to the distance. I think that's correct. And the Condit fight, he took a lot of shots.
Roy McDonald fight, by the way, he finished, but in the 5th round.
You're correct. I was mistaken about that. But before he finished, he was losing that fight. He was taking a lot of shots from Roy McDonald, who is not a small hitter. Carlos Condit hits like a truck, and I think Condit won the fight, but whether he won or lost, he still took a lot of damage. 2 bouts with Hendricks. He's taken a lot lately, and eventually that's going to catch up with you. Tyron Woodley is maybe the hardest pound-for-pound hitter in the division, and Robbie has a tendency to get hit early, and if Woodley puts one on him early, I'm not sure that Robbie Lawler can work through that. He's shown real toughness, a great ability to recover, but Woodley hits real hard. He's real fast, and he's real good, if a little underrated.
The knocks on Woodley, I think, throughout his career has been that, sometimes he doesn't win the big one. Lost to Nate Marquardt for the Strikeforce title, lost to Jake Shields in Winnipeg at 161. He lost not that long ago to Roy McDonald at 174 in Vancouver, and also that maybe when the fight goes on, he sort of falters. He's only gone past the third round once in his career. That was the Marquardt fight. He got knocked out in the fourth round. Do you think that comes into play here, or do you feel like he's sort of gotten over the hump with some of the big wins recently over the likes of Gaslam and Condit?
If it goes late, I think it does come into play. Robbie Lawler has proven at this point that he is tremendous at pacing himself and at really pouring it on late. He was behind to Roy McDonald, and then he came out in the fifth round and just wanted it more. I thought he was behind to Condit too, but he came out in that fifth round and put a stamp on it. He gets better as the fight goes on, so if it goes later, I think that definitely favors Robbie Lawler. But I'm not sure that I think you're right that the storyline has been, that Tyron Woodley can't win the big one. But I think if you look back on it, you got to reconsider that. Like he was much younger then, and at the time, Nate Marquardt was a great fighter, and realistically, Roy McDonald is still a fantastic fighter. Losing to the current champion and the presumptive number one contender, Stephen Thompson, don't change that.
Yeah.
So I think he's younger, and he's had a lot of time to get better. He's had a lot of time to improve. He's still in his physical prime, and this might be the moment for him to win the big one on the biggest stage possible.
All right, so how do you see it playing out, and who's the winner?
I have a strange feeling that Woodley's going to pull the upset, but everything in my head says that he's just not as technically efficient or as good as Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler's shown that he has that dog in him, and if it goes past 12 minutes, then I really expect Woodley to fade a lot. I'm going to pick Lawler to win, but I can't shake the feeling that Woodley's gonna add.
Don't sit on the fence here. No, you got to go with one.
I'm picking Lawler, but I will not be surprised if Woodley adds to the streak of champions just going down.
So let's move along to the co-main event. You spoke about it a little earlier. Rose Namajunas versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. You're picking Karolina?
I am. I'm picking Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I'm really high on her. I think she's great.
Yeah.
I think she is fantastic. I think Rose Namajunas is a future champion. I think we would all be very surprised if she never ended up winning a belt, and she is at the minimum going to challenge for the belt multiple more times. But her game just doesn't line up. She's made a lot of dramatic improvements with working with Trevor Whitman, but what she's doing now is good for her in the long term. I don't know that it's good for her in this particular fight. She's gotten away from being kind of that reckless, or she's moving away more from being that brawler, aggressive style into kind of an outfighter, work on the outside counter, and that's just not going to play against the sheer volume that Karolina Kowalkiewicz is going to bring. She's still, or by she, I mean Rose is still not a great wrestler, and Karolina is a fantastic defensive wrestler, so she's not. Rose can maybe create a scramble and a tie-up, and she's a fantastic scrambler. I think that would be her best option. I'm not saying she can't win on the feet, and over 3 rounds, she hits a little harder than Kowalkiewicz, so maybe it can be like a Lawler-Condit situation where, maybe Kowalkiewicz is landing more, but Rose is landing the harder shots, and that curries favor with the judges. Over 5, that wouldn't work as well. Over 3, maybe she can pull it off, but I like the volume of Kowalkiewicz, and I like her to be the next contender for Joanna Jędrzejczyk's belt.
A civil war between 2 Polish fighters. That'll be very fun. So let me ask you this. One storyline that's popped up this week is the absence of Pat Barry from Rose's camp. Is this one of the reasons why you're picking against her?
It's not one of the reasons, but it doesn't make me feel bad that that's happening on the pick. Any type of distraction like that, and even if it's not, I know she's been vocal that it's a personal matter that's not really being a problem in her life or whatever, it's still a distraction from the point. She's been asked it by multiple people, and things like that kind of get in the way when you're going into not the biggest fight of her life, because she's challenged for a title before, but an enormous fight and a chance to get back to a title shot. I do think that plays a little bit of a factor, and it's another edge to give to Kowalkiewicz.
Interesting. All right, let's move along to a welterweight fight taking place on the main card. It's Jake Ellenberger, very much in need of a big win, up against Matt Brown, who's coming off that loss to Damian Maia in Brazil. That was a very newsworthy one for him. He was getting beat up on his way to the cage after the fight, in the fight. I mean, just a mess of a situation for Matt Brown. This time around, a lot more calm, less drama for him. I think a must-win situation for Jake Ellenberger. Do you agree?
It is a must-win situation, but I just want to say that I kind of feel bad for Jake Ellenberger.
Yeah.
If you look at his resume right now and you get rid of the actual wins and losses, his last 6 fights have been the toughest in the division by far. Like, Robbie Lawler's a champion in fighting great fighters, but Jake Ellenberger has fought the who's who of the division, and he's losing them, but he's been driven through the ringer, and it's unfortunate because this is a bad matchup for him.
Yeah, why not build him back up? Have him fight a top 30 guy. You're right. You bring up a great point.
I don't know.
Especially a guy who's dealt with confidence issues, right?
Exactly, and I think that plays a lot into it, too. Ellenberger's always had a lot of talent, and there was a time when he was really looking like a future title contender. He's one of the hardest hitters, just pound for pound. He makes you lose everything when he lands on you cleanly. He's a powerful wrestler. He has the skills to build on to do well, but he does seem to have some type of confidence issues. He shells up in fights, and even more so recently, and that's really been a problem where he just won't throw. Against Matt Brown, that is a disaster.
Yeah.
And Matt Brown is going to get in your face and make you work for it. If Ellenberger is in the right headspace and really sharpened up, he has opportunities to win. Matt Brown is still not a great defensive wrestler. Ellenberger has a power double, and it's only 3 rounds. He could take him down and control him, a la Johnny Hendricks. I mean, that's mostly how that fight played out, was the takedowns were an effective tool for him. He could maybe implement that game plan, but until you see something more out of him, you just can't feel good about his chances in this one.
Wait, so who are you picking here? I'm not sure.
Definitely picking Matt Brown.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to throw me a curveball there.
No, definitely picking Matt Brown. I think that there is a way that Ellenberger could have won this fight. You can't feel confident anymore.
Right.
I would have preferred them to give him, I mean, at this point, real softball, a real get back. He's still a name. He still has promise, and he brings a lot to the table, but they have fed him the toughest schedule.
Yeah.
So
we'll see a big one for him on Saturday night. Okay, a couple more that I want to get your thoughts on. You alluded to it earlier, Francisco Rivera versus Eric Perez. Just for the record, we're going with Cisco here?
I am taking Cisco Rivera on that. I just think he should be a favorite in the fight. Eric Perez is a good fighter. Eric Perez has a little more tools in the bag than Cisco Rivera. I think he's a better offensive grappler. But I don't think he's good enough to really dictate the terms of engagement. I don't think he's going to be able to control Cisco on the ground to really even be able to get it there. Rivera, he's got some juicy mitts, man.
Yeah.
He's really got pop in his hands, and I like him to be able to. He's also got craft too. It's not just that he hits hard. He's good at setting up his shots and working behind a jab, probing with his jab, finding his opportunities to land his hands. So I like him to find it somewhere in the fight and kind of put Perez away.
Now, worth noting that the original pay-per-view opener was supposed to be Ian McCall versus Justin Scoggins, a fantastic flyweight fight involving a up-and-comer in the 125-pound division in Justin Scoggins, and a veteran, of course, who has not fought since January of 2015 as well, and Uncle Creepy. Unfortunately, Thursday night we find out Scoggins pulled from the card, unable to make the 126-pound weight limit. Ian McCall weighed in Friday as an alternate, but as of right now, it appears he will not be competing, hoping to get back in there in August. He is getting paid, though, so that's good news for Ian McCall. In their place will be Ryan Binoy versus Freddie Serrano. That's the new pay-per-view opener. Your pick in that fight.
I actually really like Freddie Serrano. I think if Freddie Serrano was younger, he'd be a great prospect. He's 36 years old, which is unfortunate, but he is an Olympic wrestler for Colombia, and he's a natural fighter. He's hyper athletic, as you'd expect somebody who represented his country in the Olympics, but on the feet, he doesn't really have a lot of time training that, but he shows a lot of promise. He's good at integrating his strikes, mixing things up well. He hasn't proven to be the best wrestler in MMA, but he's still good enough, I think, to score takedowns on Ryan Benoit, control Benoit if he needs to. He has good pop in his hands, too, is another thing. Benoit's definitely the better striker in the matchup. If it stays on the feet the whole time, you got to favor Benoit there. But I just think Freddie Serrano would be a prospect, like a blue chip. This is a guy we want to keep our eye on. It's unfortunate at his age, but maybe he can still make a run and do some things going forward.
Great insight. How about that? Jen Meshew coming out swinging. Great stuff, my man.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Ariel.
Yeah, pleasure to have you on the preview show. Okay, that does it for us. We're back Saturday night Thank you very much for watching our coverage up until this point. The last couple times the UFC has been in Atlanta, UFC 88, Rashad Evans with that big knockout over Chuck Liddell, and of course UFC 145, John Jones defeating Rashad Evans in a pretty entertaining affair. I know the fans were a little disappointed, but there was a lot of bad blood going into that one. What's going to happen on Saturday night? Will we see a new welterweight champion, or will Robbie Lawler once again prove that he is the ageless wonder and continue to put on amazing shows? He has yet to put on a boring fight since returning to the UFC. We'll see if that happens once again on Saturday night. We'll see you after the fights. Again, thank you very much for watching. For Jed, I'm Ariel. Enjoy them.